How do you build a helicopter vision or a holistic view to see all the things in a big project or program all together at once? So I wouldn't call this a helicopter view. What I usually heard this referred to as the 50,000 foot view, but same thing, right? It's if you've ever flown in a plane, you look down and you can see all the big picture of the state and where the farms and the roads are, but you can't make out the road signs or what's exactly there or what type of cars. That's what we're talking about. Reed, how do you like to see the big picture when you're working on a big project?
So when I hear that, I actually think about my junior airmen that I used to have in the military, where you might have a 19 or 20-year-old kid and they don't understand what exactly their contribution to a particular mission, or in this case, a program would be. So they see the ones and zeros on the wire. They understand that things are getting carried out, but they don't really understand what the greater picture is. I really do think that's more the responsibility of the leader to be able to explain what the importance of it is. And if you look at different project methodologies, it really does come down to the initiation phase of a project and the scope statement. Like understanding, hey, if we have a project mandate, what are we trying to accomplish here? And it all comes back to the project mandate. We understand that we need to put in a new budgeting software for our financial company because it'll save X amount of money. So if you circle back and look at that, hey, if we do this correctly, we'll save our company $1 million. You can carry that forward and let everyone on the team know. So that's at least how I would focus on that. Go back to the project mandate and the scope statement, but it's easier said than done, like most things.
Yeah, and I would say this also depends if you're working in a waterfall project or an agile project. If I'm working in a waterfall project, we already know what we're doing. So I'll give you an example we can all relate to. Let's say I want to build a new 3 bedroom, 2 bath house. I know the steps for that. I need to buy a piece of land. I need to make sure the utilities are run to that land, like water and power. Then we need to build the foundation. Then we need to build the walls. Then we have to put in the electrical wiring and the plumbing. Then we're going to close up the walls with drywall. Then we're going to put the carpeting in and the cabinets and all that stuff. It's all pieces, and we know what those phases are. By knowing what those big pictures are and breaking it up into 3 or 4 phases, we can say, okay, we bought the land, we got the infrastructure. Now we got the walls and the foundation up. Now we got the interior wiring and plumbing done. We get those checks. We move into stage 4, doing all the finished work of drywall, painting, carpet, etc. And then step 5, make sure everything's done, deliver it to the customer. That's our 5 basic steps in building a house. If I was doing that, I would have literally a dashboard that shows those 5 steps. And if I click into step 1, it would have all the tasks associated with that. And then I would be able to see who's done it, who's it assigned to, when's it due, what the date is, and we can create what's called a Gantt chart, Gannt. And essentially, it's a horizontal chart, and across the top, you have all the days of the project, and down the side, you have all the tasks or all the phases with the subtasks underneath it. And you can see the line like phase 1, pour concrete, 2 days. Phase or task 2 of that is let concrete dry, 2 days. And so you'll see like a chart that looks like this, and they move as you go down, almost like stair steps. And you can see at any time where you are on the timeline and what's been done, and that'll very quickly show you where you are. Every company likes to use different ways of displaying this. I've been in some places that like Gantt charts. I know in some places that like pie charts. They go, hey, we have 100 tasks to do and we're 89% done. To me, that's not as useful. I like Gantt charts because I could see how many tasks need to be done and what days. If you're an agile, everything's done in sprints. So it's a 1 week, 2 week, or 4 week sprint. You know what the backlog is of all the things you need to get done. And you'll see there's 100 tasks that need to be done in 2 weeks. You don't care what order they get done as long as they get done in that 2 weeks. And you can start seeing what we call a burn down chart or a burn up chart. We say, okay, there's 100 tasks. And if I look at day 2, I should be at 90 tasks. And then there's another 2 days later, I should be at 80 tasks. And we can evenly divide it, or we can exponentially with a curve. There's lots of different ways of doing it depending on your project. But the idea is to have some way to measure your performance. If I told you to go save $1 million and I want you to do that over the next 10 years, you could say, okay, $1 million for 10 years is going to be $100,000 a year. Not really, because there's actually interest that accrues. So you have to account for that. So maybe the first year I need 100,000, but the second year I only need 90. The third year I need 80. And if I do that every year, I'll get to my $1 million. It's the same thing with a project. You know what work needs to be done, and you start breaking that down into tasks and subtasks and figure out where it goes along the curve, and you can track that going through. And people love, if you're a project manager, you'll make a lot of charts and graphics and Gantt charts and pie charts and bar charts, because it makes it easy to display to your leadership and your executives what you're doing. Are you on track? Are you behind schedule, ahead of schedule, on